What is up, everybody? It's Dixon with another edition of 95X Live. And today I am joined by a future Australian legend. The man is making huge moves. This is Gojo. How are you today, sir?
Hey Scott, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's hot. I'm currently in Los Angeles and it's very hot.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. I know everything's probably crazy in your world right now. I want to say that t-shirt is dope and I love it.
Represent, baby.
Absolutely. Greatly appreciate that. Um, Man, we had Mrs. Hollywood in the drop a week or so ago, and the response is huge. And that's just a microcosm of what's happening out there in the world. You've charted that song in 12 countries. You're approaching 100 million interactions across all the platforms with that song. So, first and foremost, congratulations, because that's an achievement.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't, you know what? I didn't even actually know that. So thanks for the insight also.
Yeah, it's wild to me, man, because there are so many people in my industry in radio that are dismissive of people that are successful on social platforms like TikTok. And I sit over here and I wonder why, because at the end of the day, it's just more eyes and ears on an artist. And you're sort of warming yourself up for us in a way that we've never been able to do that with artists prior to the modern day technology of social media.
Oh, that's really cool. I suppose that's an honor, really. That's really kind of you. Thank you.
You recently were in Indonesia. I saw a bunch of your videos that have popped up on TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts. What was the experience of being in Indonesia like for you with a song this big at the present moment?
It was awesome because yeah, the song's charting out there as well. So when we went to the Philippines, we went to Manila in the Philippines, and we also went to Jakarta in Indonesia. And that was awesome. Like it was, yeah, it's just getting recognized everywhere and having conversations with everyone. Everyone's very kind there. Did some like tried some street food as well with like some locals, which was really cool. It was just such a good experience, and obviously played some shows. But it was more like I suppose there was more like we haven't played a show there yet, but we were playing like shows for radio stations and things like that too.
The old promo tour.
The promo tour, yes, exactly.
Absolutely, man. You got to do it at this stage. And I've got to say, man, I think the thing that makes me so happy to see in all of these videos that you post, right, is because you've done man on the street stuff in Australia. I know you've done some stuff in LA. Now there's Indonesia. It's amazing to me to watch the people in the videos that aren't necessarily interacting directly with you. Like I
Yeah.
watched one earlier today of Indonesia, right? And there's the kids and they're all clapping, they're participating in the look of sheer joy on everyone's face because of the vibe of the song is what really makes me feel like this is not only the song of summer, but it might be the song of 2023. There's just
Oh,
something
I love that.
intrinsically charming and inviting about this song. I have a weird litmus test for songs. My wife is notoriously picky, and I'm a music snob, so I'm picky to begin with, right? But
Yeah,
my
I get it.
wife does like the 3 second assessment, like a lot of women do with music.
So
And
if it gets through her, you know it's something special.
yeah, so a lot of times I'll play her something, and she gives me the sort of the shrug, and then I'll catch her like the next morning getting ready for work, humming it or singing it. In the case of Mrs. Hollywood, she heard it once and then she was like, "Oh, I need to hear it again." And then we played it a third time. And then by the next morning, like she wakes me up by having the thing blaring in the bathroom while she's getting ready for work. And then like she's more excited for like the interview process than I am. So like the fact that she's so up for it, the amount of feedback we got when we featured it in the drop on the air. It's been in specialty, which is something that I do on Sunday nights for a couple of months. The response there has been massive.
Oh,
Um,
that's so good to hear. Well, yeah, really appreciate everyone for listening and your wife as well for liking the song so much. I love that.
I think she might be responsible for a solid 5% of the US streams at this point. It's pretty great.
That's great. That's so good.
So I've read a bunch about you, sir, and a question that I know you probably get asked a lot, and I really love the answer to was your influences musically. And the one name that I've seen pop up a couple times in things that the minute I saw it, it clicked in my head was Max Martin.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course. I was so curious to see where you'd go with this actually, because obviously I do have a few influences, but Max is 100% one of the biggest.
Yeah, and it's weird to me, right? Because he's so associated with like straightforward pop acts,
Yeah.
right? But like I know I don't look like the kind of guy, you know, bald, covered in tattoos, giant beard. I probably like if people really had to guess would think I listen to like Mastodon, which I do sometimes. But at the end of the day, I grew up loving things with hooks and melody and like
Yeah.
these inherently songwriter-esque touches that Max puts into all of these things, regardless of the genre. And the fact that that influence has hit you in a way where you're able to take so many of those fundamental elements that make a pop song great and apply them to something that isn't so straightforward and right down the middle American pop music is so mind blowing to me that you've spent enough time with Max's material to have not only like taken it in and digested it, but put it back out in a way that makes sense to you and is still very truly authentic to who you are as an artist.
Yes, yeah, no, 100%. I love that. You know, I literally like studied Max's like productions and songwriting, and yeah, he's obviously had the most amount of he's had the most number of number ones, hasn't he? Right?
Yeah, by a large margin at this point, too.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and it makes so much sense. Like the biggest thing I respect about like his craft though is how he can make a record that you can listen to on a Sunday evening reading a book, and you can also listen to it at like 3 a.m. on like a Saturday night, you know, in just like the wildest club ever.
Yeah. And for me, I think my favorite thing about what he does is there's this subtle nature to the way he puts hooks into songs, right? Like there's some people that are very clumsy with hooks and they feel like they've got to hit you right over the head with them. And you know, as somebody, and I've admitted this earlier today, that I'm a little bit of a music snob. That music snob in me gets like offended by the fact of like, did you really have to be so obvious with it, right? And
Yeah.
with Mrs. Hollywood in particular, it's so subtle but also so obvious at the same time, so it rides this weird juxtaposition of being very very charming in this little song, but it also has this larger than life feeling. And those for me are always the songs that stick with me forever. They become a part of my musical lexicon in my brain for the long term.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool. And it's like I suppose it's like the universal like you know songs are just like universally loved as well, right? There's some songs that are just yeah, and you know, I feel like, well, from what I've seen, it seems like Mrs. Hollywood has a lot of that aspect, which is very, you know, that's also really, really cool to see. And I never expected that when I made it, obviously, either. I didn't expect it to do what it has done, which is really, really cool and has been really eye opening to a lot of things.
Well, in my opinion, sir, I think it's just getting going, right? I think we're in the like baby step stages of what this song is going to be at the end of the day. I think once everybody gets an opportunity to see you live and interact with you and understand how incredibly authentic you are, that the sky is the limit, right? Like I went back after hearing the song, and it's weird, right? Because like the first they sent it to me for my specialty show,
Yeah.
and I immediately heard it and was like, I love this. Of course I'm going to play this. But I had this lingering thought of like, I feel like I've heard this before. And then it turns out that like I had interacted with some of your TikToks and some of your YouTube shorts
No way.
and
That's so
hadn't made
cool.
the connection. Because for those that are unaware, Gojo has a fantastic point of view with Mrs. Hollywood in the social spaces where you play it live on the street and invite musicians to come up and play the solo of the song. And I've seen guitar, I've seen saxophone, I think I saw a violin recently.
Yeah, I did a violin
And
one.
the fact that the song transposes well to any instrument for that speaks volumes about the craft behind the songwriting. But it's also great to me to see your response when somebody really really nails it.
Oh, like you mean like my response when we're doing like the solos?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, like it's so cool though, like because it's a lot of the time, it's very unexpected as well. When I hear a solo, it's just like, oh, I'm curious to see how this is gonna go, and then it just comes out the gate, and it's just like, oh, it's just luscious. Like I just, I love music, obviously, and obviously when you gas people up, it's really nice as well. It's nice to see them feeling really comfortable, like and confident when they play too. It's just, yeah, it's a win-win for like everyone. It's such a nice thing.
Absolutely. So you're coming back to the States in September. You're on the second leg of the Tash Sultana tour that
Yes.
unfortunately comes nowhere near Syracuse. It looks like either Toronto or Asbury Park for people in central New York are going to be the two closest places to come. My dog decided to enter
I
uh,
was like
the
I was
room.
like,
So
"What is going on there?"
he's just going to hang out under the curtain because that's what he does. His name's Mr. Wiggles, by the way, and he's also a fan of Mrs. Hollywood.
Hey, Mr. Wiggles. Love you, Mr. Wiggles. Love you too, Gojo.
Uh, how excited are you to do the like what will be a pretty extended run in the States with Tosh?
Oh, I'm so excited. I mean, we're gonna be playing to the biggest rooms we've ever played to. And I just the greatest thing with playing live is I just love showing off as well. So, the more people that I get to do that to, the better, which I'm yeah, really excited for. And I've also got like some really cool ideas for the show as well. I think it will be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to at some point hopefully see you live, and I'll leave the open invitation. You've always got a home in Syracuse to play. If you
Oh,
ever
I appreciate that.
get out here for an extended period of time, and hey
I'll have
man,
to come in the studio and play it live.
you can do it in the studio, you can do it at the club I book, you can do it wherever you want, man. We've got you hooked up in Syracuse for whenever you decide to make your way upstate New York.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
Now, the other thing I want to touch on quick is I saw a post from you about one of your dreams being able to play a music festival. And then I
Yeah.
saw that you're playing Yours and Owls in October. And that a
Yes.
couple of my absolute favorite artists of all time are on that show. I'm a huge Oliver Tree guy. I love
Yeah.
Oliver so
Amazing.
much. I've had a chance to talk with him a couple of times over the years, and he's just mind blowingly next level and Hobo Johnson as well. And I think that, like both of those artists in relevance to you sort of make sense for the festival.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I mean, the opportunity is really cool. And yeah, like you said, like playing with like, idols and things like that. It's really cool because this is my first music festival that I will be playing. So yeah, doing that is just, yeah, it's going to be such a cool achievement.
I'm excited for you, sir. That lineup looks absolutely stacked.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. And in Sydney and being in Sydney and over 2 days as well, like really exciting.
Absolutely, man. It's so strange to me because I have this I don't know. It started over the course of the pandemic because um, I somehow kind of became close with Vance Joy, so we just started talking about Australian acts, and he and I are both big fans of Floor. Uh,
Yeah.
and we had a little conversation about that. And then I chatted with him a few months ago, and I asked him who some of the Australian artists who were on the come up were. And I went back and watched that recently, and the two names that popped up were Royal Otis and Gojo. And it's that weird
So
full
Van
circle
and
moment.
and Vance. So this is what Vance said.
Yeah, and this was earlier this year on the heels of his. I wish I had a better memory. Probably would have been springtime.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, because I've he's like I remember I did a cover of one of his songs once. Like this was actually probably like a year or two ago. I remember he reposted it. And so we like, we spoken a few times, not too directly though, but it was mainly through like, like a comment on a post or something like that. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, man. And for me, right, like I remember being a kid and being obsessed with In Excess, and then wondering, like, oh man, how does an Australian band make it in the States? And now here I am all these years later, and it's great to see such a surge of fantastic music coming out of Australia.
Yeah, it's been good. Like I was literally having a chat with someone about this today. I feel like Australia is really on the come up with like music. I mean, obviously it's always been really good, but it's good to see like a lot of these international wins come out as well, which is good because a lot of things break when they break in Australia. They a lot of things stay there, you know, but when they move internationally, it's really cool to see. And I mean, there's been a lot of that lately, which is really cool.
Well, it seems like you've spent some time in the States. How would you compare making it in the States compared to sort of making it in Australia? Like, how hard is it to get off the island, so to speak, and get out into the rest of the world as opposed to being an American band sort of doing it in reverse?
Well, I suppose you just have to write really good songs, I suppose. I mean, you write really good songs and have like, you know, market yourself well. I feel like the algorithm and the masses will take care of everything else.
Absolutely, man. And you are a master of tickling that algorithm just right, man. Because, like I said, almost 100 million interactions across all the platforms. That's a staggering number that most
Really cool.
established artists can't even approach. So the fact that you're on the come up with these metrics is proof positive that there is 100% going to be a massive surge in popularity for Gojo, in my opinion.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. That was really kind.
Oh, no problem, my man. And I have two last questions for you, and both of them are a little strange. So I
I
feel
love
like,
this.
yeah.
Stranger the better.
So you have one of the greatest collection of interesting pants that I have seen in the history of music. I've seen cow print, but I think the most iconic are those bright mustard yellow pants that are
Yeah.
featured in a lot of those videos. So like my question is, do you have just the one pair or are there multiple pairs of those yellow pants in existence?
There's definitely just one pair, and I'm not even joking. They've probably been out of every video I made. I reckon they've been washed once.
Oh, all right. All right.
I gotta be honest, I gotta be honest with these things. But yeah, I've only had one, and I remember it was the first day I got to Sydney. I went to a thrift store and I got this big yellow suit because it has a top half as well, and I got this big yellow suit and it was like really cheap. It was like $20 or something. And then yeah, and then they just became like part of my image now. It's like whenever I wear my yellow pants, I feel like 30 times more people recognize me, and then I don't wear them as much, and then it's not as much. It's pretty funny.
It's an iconic look, sir, and it works really well with your aesthetic. So I would say maybe wash them, but definitely keep them as the main pair of rock pants.
Okay, noted. I'll do that.
And my final question, again, into the strange realm. You've spent some time in America. Obviously, you're from Australia. Uh, who has better broccoli? Is it the States? Is it Australia? And sub question, do you have a go-to broccoli recipe? Because it seems like you have broccoli in mass because you're always giving it away for free.
Oh, I literally have an answer for both of these. So I personally think the broccoli is better in Australia, but that's only from my dad's veggie garden. I mean, you get it from the supermarkets out there. It's pretty similar to out here, but if you have it the organic way, like organic out of someone's garden, you just cannot beat it. It's so good. And now I'm starving. Thank you. And the second one was wait, what was this? The second one was
Do you have a go-to recipe for the broccoli?
oh yes, my all-time favorite way of eating broccoli is
Yeah.
raw with balsamic vinegar.
I don't disagree with you on that, sir.
Have you had it raw before?
I have. It's like a salad bar staple in the States, especially on the East Coast.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I get the balsamic thing, man, because one of my favorite recipes is actually to toss broccoli, like fresh broccoli, in olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and salt and pepper, and then roast it in a really hot oven,
No
right?
way.
And it
Oh, that
comes out
sounds
like
so
candy every
good.
time.
Yeah,
Every
that
time.
sounds so good.
Excellent, man. So you have answered all of my questions, and I appreciate you. I'm so looking forward to what the future holds for you because I think you are a shining star that nobody's going to be able to dim, especially with the strength of this song. I know it's up on all platforms. They can follow you, Go Dash Joe, across all social platforms. You're an easy man to find. And again, sir, thank you for your time today and sincerely congratulations because this is a huge achievement. And I genuinely wish that my peers in radio were not so dismissive of TikTok success. and thinking that it's a flash in the pan thing. I think that at the end of the day, uh, being able to play an artist like yourself that has 100 million impressions across social media platforms gives you a leg up over just an upstart artist that has a great song and no social media presence. So I'm really hoping that American radio gets out of its own way and embraces you fully and puts you in that rightful spot at the top of our charts here in the States, because the song deserves it.
Oh, well, thank you. I love that. Yeah, thank you so much. That was the nicest outro ever.
Well, I appreciate you, sir. That shirt is fantastic. I'm going to insist that you hold on to it so that when you come to Syracuse, you can wear it here.
I will be wearing this in your studio in due time.
I can't wait, sir. I appreciate your time today and wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for having me on the show as well. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. This is 95X Live.